Chapter 231, Sword Scar Palace. A cold breeze blew through the Tai Divine City deep into the night. The Tai Divine City was covered in snow once again. It had snowed twice during the past few days of the rookie ranking competition. In a city like the Tai Divine City, it had layers upon layers of arrays. Once the arrays were initiated, they would allow the whole city to experience the warmth of spring throughout the entire year. However, this was a great waste of energy and there was no reason to do so. The yuan qi gathered within the Tai Divine City arrays were instead supplied to the warriors for cultivation. Yi Yun walked along the streets. Every time he stepped onto the snow, the compacted snow would tremble and make a crunching sound. There were rows of houses with unsophisticated ambiances on both sides of the street. Yi Yun kept on recalling the battles that happened in the day. There was no doubt that both Chu Xiaoran and Xuanyo possessed outstanding capabilities. Most importantly, they each had their own characteristics and strengths. Chu Xiaoran had gained insight into a law, while Xuanyo had his strong body. Between the two of them, in their own respective aspects, they were so strong that they made others feel helpless to the point of losing confidence. Of course, Yi Yun was not lacking in confidence. Chu Xiaoran and Xuanyo may be strong, but Yi Yun still had the Taiya Sacred Technique. But the problem was, the Taiya Sacred Technique could not be considered a strength of Yi Yun. The Taiya Sacred Technique was strong and the warriors who mastered the Taiya Sacred Technique could easily beat warriors with average cultivation techniques. They could even battle people who were a few levels above them and it would still be as easy as eating and drinking. But, the Taiya Sacred Technique could not be considered to be a specialty. The Taiya Sacred Technique could suppress others through its absolute power. But if they were to face someone who also cultivated the Taiya Sacred Technique, or someone whose Taiya Sacred Technique level was higher than their own, such as Qin Haotian, then they would lose all the advantages that the Taiya Sacred Technique gave them. What mattered then would be a competition amongst their other aspects. The other aspects included competing in terms of strength, laws, speed or battle experience. What was his competitive advantage? What did he have that allowed him to beat Qin Haotian? He would most likely lose even at the same level. Yi Yun suddenly realized that his battle power was far too weak. Besides the Taiya Sacred Technique and the large success stage of Minute Subtlety, he had no other competitive advantages. Yi Yun had great ambition. If a typical warrior were to master the legendary Taiya Sacred Technique in a short period of time, they would be so excited that they would lose themselves, but Yi Yun felt that it was still insufficient. He needed to strengthen every aspect of himself. He wanted to be an all-round person without any weaknesses. Such as saber techniques. Yi Yun's saber techniques had always been weak. In fact, he had no saber techniques at all. The saber moves that were derived from the 9 mysterious swords of heaven technique were nothing in front of an expert. With this thought in mind, Yi Yun started walking towards a new direction. He stopped in front of a palace after walking down the street for 15 minutes. He looked up and saw the 3 meters wide plaque that was hanging on top of the palace entrance, and on that plaque were 3 large words, Sword Scar Palace. These 3 words were sharply written and they contained an aura. With just a glance, it was obvious that it was written by a master. Yi Yun had long since heard about the Sword Scar Palace. He always wanted to pay a visit to it. This was the best place for the cultivators of the Tai Divine City to increase their compatibility with their weapons. It cost 1,000 dragon scale runes, just like the Wilderness Divine Hall, to enter the Sword Scar Palace for 2 hours. To the present Yi Yun, 1,000 dragon scale runes was nothing. After paying, Yi Yun entered the palace. The palace was not large. There were large rectangular stones in it. These large stones were immutable ancient rocks and they were produced in the divine wilderness. Whatever was carved on such rocks could not be erased, even if they were to be exposed to the elements of nature for millions of years. On the walls around the immutable ancient rocks, there were all sort of scar marks. These scars were left behind by the Tai Divine Kingdom sages. There were sword scars, saber scars, claw marks, and even fist prints. No matter what the weapon was, you could find the corresponding mark within the Sword Scar Palace. The assault abstraction asterisk of the attackers were left behind within these scars. One came to the Sword Scar Palace to gain insight into these concepts. As Yi Yun was beginning to gain some insights, he caught sight of someone through the corner of his eye. It was a thin, little old man. His hair and beard were messy, but the most amazing thing about him was the blood-red gem embedded in between his eyebrows. It sparkled under the everlasting lamps in the hall. The old man was wearing a large gray robe. He was comfortably reclining on a lounge chair and his eyes were half squinted, as if he was almost falling asleep due to the comfort. There was a plate containing crystal-like grapes on a table beside him. The little old man would occasionally reach out to pick up a grape lazily and put it in his mouth. He looked like he was enjoying himself a lot. "Senior, you are also here?" Yi Yun was surprised. He had seen this old man before. The blood-red gem in the middle of the old man's eyebrows had left a deep impression on Yi Yun. Back when Yi Yun went to the Wilderness Divine Hall to absorb the primordial species energy, he had met this old man when he came out of the Divine Hall. He had attacked Yi Yun without any warning, and had defeated him with one move. He had even reprimanded Yi Yun, telling him how terrible his saber skills were. Back then, this little old man had recommended Yi Yun to go to the Sword Scar Palace. And when Yi Yun really came here, he did not expect to run into him. The old man opened his eyes and glanced at Yi Yun. He laughed and said, "Kid, you finally thought of my place? Paying my respects to the senior." Yi Yun cupped his hands and bowed. "I'm here to gain insights from the sage saber scars." "Saber scars?" He. The old man plucked another grape and threw it into his mouth. He shook his head and said, "Gaining insight from saber scars. Do you know where the deepest saber scar abstractions are in the Sword Scar Palace?" Yi Yun shook his head after being questioned by the old man. "I do not." The old man chuckled, as if he had predicted Yi Yun's answer. He said, "Let me take you to a good place. I guarantee you that it will be extremely beneficial to you." Hearing the old man's words, Yi Yun was overjoyed. It could not get any better with someone giving him pointers. "Thank you, senior." It's no big deal." The old man waved his hand, before suddenly remembering something. "Right." The old man stretched his right hand before Yi Yun and pinched his thumb and index finger. He gave a wretched-looking smile. "Did you bring enough dragon scale runes? The place I am taking you to will charge an additional fee." Yi Yun hesitated for a while before smiling. "I have brought enough." Charging more dragon scale runes? That was nothing. Yi Yun had over 100,000 dragon scale runes. There were not many places that he could not enter in the Tai A Divine City. All Yi Yun cared about was the best cultivation resources. He paid no heed to the price. "Oh. That's good." The old man looked relieved and said, "The place I'm taking you to will need an additional 10,000 dragon scale runes, and at the same time, you will need to pay a glory point. You should still have a glory point left, right? By handing over the primordial herb, you must have received plenty of rewards?" The old man grinned as he asked Yi Yun. When Yi Yun heard this, he froze up. "What? 10,000 dragon scale runes, and an additional glory point?" He could not have heard wrongly. Although he paid no heed to price and only wanted the best, this fee was unreasonable. This was robbery. Looking at the old man with his wretched smile, Yi Yun felt a chill. This old bastard looked like an old swindler. Was he cheating him? "Senior, did you make a mistake?" Yi Yun asked tactfully. This junior only needed 2 glory points to buy the Taya Sacred Technique. The old man shook his head like a rattle. "How could I make a mistake? This price is because a kid like you knows me, and it is on account of our friendship. If it were anyone else, they might not even enter with that price. That place is not an ordinary place. After entering it, you will definitely have great gains. As for buying the Taiya Sacred Technique with 2 glory points, that was just the first 3 volumes. The 4th and 5th volume combined will need 5 glory points. The prices of the last few volumes even increase at an astonishing rate. Do you think that the entire Taiya Sacred Technique is cheap? So what about it? Are you going in? You can enter that place and stay there for a whole day. You will regret it if you don't go. The little old man began to tempt Yi Yun. Yi Yun was in a dilemma. This old man looked like an old swindler. But as an administrator of the Taiya Divine City, even if he did not have any moral integrity, he still wouldn't cheat a rookie, right? Was it really worth the price? 10,000 dragon scale runes was not much, but a glory point. This was a precious resource that the top-ranked experts in the Taiya Divine City particularly cherished. By needing to pay a glory point to enter, that meant that 99% of the cultivators in the Taiya Divine City had absolutely no chance of entering it once in their 6 years here. Even the cultivators who earned a glory point might not be willing to part with the glory point to gain entrance. Yi Yun only had 3 glory points left. After breaking the herb-picking record, he received 2 glory points, and 1 glory point left from the primordial herb. To be able to enter this training ground for a day, that's considered quite long. As for the rookie ranking competition, there are still 7+ days left. In the next 2 days, no one would challenge me. I won't miss much if I don't watch those matches. Yi Yun was tempted. He really wanted to take a look at such a place. Even if he could not grasp anything, it was not like he could not afford the loss of this glory point. So, Yi Yun nodded saying, "Senior, please lead the way." He, swift and decisive. The old man laughed as he patted Yi Yun's shoulders and gave a thumbs up. "Young man, you are really promising." Seeing the old man look as if he had fallen into money, Yi Yun became increasingly skeptical. Did the old man get a cut from promoting this mysterious training ground? There was no way the Taiya Divine City would have such immoral rules, right? As the old man was about to leave, with a thought, he took the bunch of grapes from the plate and put it in his pocket. As he plucked it to eat, he said to Yi Yun, "Follow this old me, I guarantee you that you will not regret it." Occult abstraction refers to the concepts behind the original creator's attack and how he moved when performing it. This is learned by watching and contemplating on the marks left behind. Chapter 232, The Way of the Saber. Author's note: in the previous chapter, the glory points should be 3. It has been corrected. While writing, I kept looking at the clock on the computer's bottom right-hand corner. Since time was too tight and my brain was filled with plot points, I had a slight short circuit and wrote it incorrectly. This is considered the second chapter for January 27th. Yi Yun followed the old man. After turning the corner around a staircase, he entered a dark walkway. This walkway led underground. There were everlasting lamps hung on both sides of the walkway, but the light from these lamps was not warm. On the contrary, gust after gust of cold wind blew through the depths of the walkway. The old man did not walk slowly, but the walkway was extremely long. After walking for almost 30 minutes, they had covered a distance of almost 4 kilometers. Finally, the old man stopped and said, "Here we are." The wind was even more chilling here. With a blow of the cold wind, the everlasting lamps flickered, dimming and brightening. The old man slowly rotated his body. At the end of the passage, there were 2 large bronze doors. On the surface of the 2 doors, there were carvings of an unknown primordial behemoth. The behemoth carvings contained an inexplicable abstraction within them that made one feel distraught when they looked at them. "It's in here," the old man said as he rolled up his sleeves. He pushed the left bronze door with all his strength. Ja ja ja. With the sound of contraptions being activated, the bronze door slowly opened. The door was extremely heavy and thick. As the metal shaft rotated, due to the sudden change in weight, the entire walkway began to tremor. For some unknown reason, Ian felt that the old man was not pushing a door, but a thick tombstone. After the old man pushed the door open, he held the door open with one hand and said, "So heavy." "I finally opened it. You can go in now." The old man pointed to the interior. Ian hesitated, and just as he was about to take a step, he suddenly felt a chill rush towards him, which caused his hair to stand up on end as he felt unease. Killing intent. Oh. Ian was alarmed. It was as if there was a terrifying existence beyond this door. What kind of door did this old man open? "Kid, what are you standing around for? You do not dare enter," the old man asked casually. Ian was surprised. "Senior, what is this place?" "What place is this?" "Hee," the old man laughed sinisterly. "This is an ancient tomb." "Tomb?" Ian was flabbergasted. "A grave. Could this be the resting place of some forefather of the Tai Divine Kingdom?" "You have so many questions." The old man impatiently waved his hand. But with some deliberation, he said, "Actually, there is no harm in telling you this. Do you know why the Tai Divine City was built here?" The old man answered Ian's question with another question. Ian began thinking. He originally believed that the reason behind building the Tai Divine City at this location was by randomly choosing a spot in the divine wilderness that had a spiritual pulse thick in heaven earth yuan qi, which would allow the elites from the Tai Divine Kingdom to train here. But now, from the old man's words, it seemed like that was not the case. Ian shook his head. "I do not know." The old man patted the bronze door that was already opened and said, "The Tai Divine City was built here because of this ancient tomb. The owner of this tomb is not a forefather of the Tai Divine Kingdom, but someone else. In fact, this ancient tomb existed at least a few million years before the Tai Divine Kingdom was established." The old man's answer took Ian aback. This ancient tomb predated the Tai Divine Kingdom by so many years. The old man carried on, "As for who the owner of the tomb is, there's no way of verifying who it is. When the first city lord of the Tai Divine City found this ancient tomb, it had already been opened. The funerary items, inheritance, and the corpse had long disappeared. But the ancient tomb's array field still existed. There were many ancient array inscriptions in the ancient tomb. The founding city lord of the Tai Divine City used the ancient tomb's array field as a foundation to build up the Tai Divine City's large array. All these years, the Tai Divine City has been gathering heaven earth yuan qi. A portion of it is used to nourish the ancient tomb's array field. If this array field is stabilized, the Tai Divine City would be indestructible." After hearing the old man's words, Ian finally understood. Having stood in the divine wilderness for tens of millions of years, the Tai Divine City would inevitably suffer attacks from beast hordes. A typical beast horde would be courting death if they attacked the Tai Divine City. But if a large number of primordial species attacked, then the Tai Divine City would face tremendous pressure. With the ancient tomb's array field present, it allowed the Tai Divine City to stand firmly. "Go in. Kid, you sure lucked out." The old man pushed Ian towards the tomb. Ian had a strange feeling. According to the old man, this ancient tomb was an important spot in the Tai Divine City, yet the old man could bring him here. It seemed like this old man's status was not ordinary. "Senior, since the tomb has been cleared by others, then what is there for this junior to do inside?" Even before Ian could finish, the old man had pushed him into the tomb. "Kid, in the ancient tomb, there are 2 chambers. The left chamber is related to sabers. Do well at gaining the insights, it's a great opportunity. There are many treasures in the Tai Divine City. It all depends if you have the ability to obtain it." After the old man finished his sentence, he pressed on the bronze door. With a zha-zha-zha sound, he closed the tomb's door. Ian was now in a completely sealed space. Seeing the door close, Ian's heart thumped. Was this old man not afraid that the mechanisms would turn faulty? The door's weight was terrifying. there was absolutely no way that Yi Yun could push it open. The tomb chamber was now completely isolated from the outside world. Yi Yun sized up the tomb chamber. The tomb chamber was not large and it was about 10 meters wide. There were everlasting lamps on all four walls, allowing him to see clearly. In the middle of the chamber, there was a sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was already opened, and the lid had already disappeared. It was obvious the sarcophagus was empty. Ian took a look inside and gasped slightly. The sarcophagus was not as empty as Yi Yun expected. There was a thick metal plate with a long indentation through the middle. The indentation was about 5 foot long. It was as if something was embedded within it originally. After Yi Yun sized it up, he was shocked. It looked like the shape of a saber. A saber was originally placed within the indentation. Maybe this sarcophagus was not used to bury a person but a saber. But now, the saber was gone, leaving behind a saber sarcophagus. A pity. Yi Yun sighed. If the saber was left behind, it was clearly a great treasure. If it was possible, he wanted to see how awesome the saber was. I really do not know what sort of person the tomb owner is. Back when the founding city lord built the Tai Divine City, he had to use the tomb's array field to reinforce the Divine City. This meant that the founding city lord of the Tai Divine City could not set up such an array field. With this hypothesis, then the owner of the tomb was even more capable than the Tai Divine City's first city lord. Yi Yun had mixed feelings upon reaching this conclusion. There were too many peerless experts in this world. There was no limit in the universe. What did the old man bring me here for? This sarcophagus is empty. As Yi Yun knitted his eyebrows, he suddenly noticed something. With the light from the everlasting lamp, he found a few marks on the walls of the chamber. Each mark were extremely sharp. It seemed like each mark was made by a saber. It was a saber scar. Chapter 233, Straight to the Primeval Source. Yi Yun sat down cross-legged in front of the wall with the 4 sentences written on it. He figured that the old man must have brought him here to take a look at the 4 lines of words. This ancient tomb was already empty. Before, there were battle sabers, treasures and inheritance buried here, but they were all gone now, and the only thing left behind was the tomb owner's words. These words were full of a relentless dominance that was shocking to behold. Oh! These words. After Yi Yun stared at the 4 lines for a while, he realized that they contained an inexplicable concept. Each word, each stroke, was shiny, like a saber beam that seemed to break out from the wall. It was as if these words were a display of saber techniques. Upon discovering this, Yi Yun began focusing his spirit and stared unblinkingly at the 4 lines. Each word had a different concept from the other. But when they were combined together, it gave one a consistent and natural feeling. I get it. Yi Yun's eyes lit up. The person who inscribed these words demonstrated his insight on the saber truths, which he obtained over his entire life. These words may not be a saber technique formula. They are even better than that. There was a concept within these words, but Yi Yun could not comprehend it. He could only roughly feel it and try to fathom it. But he was weak when compared to the person who left behind these inscriptions. Although Yi Yun had extraordinary perceptivity, he was unable to gain enlightenment. It's so deep. Yi Yun knitted his eyebrows. These 4 lines were like 4 sets of saber techniques. Each saber technique had its own saber truths. In Yi Yun's current state, it was just wishful thinking to hope that he could understand everything. In fact, the old man who brought Yi Yun here did not expect Yi Yun to gain much insight. But if Yi Yun could gain even a tiny amount of insight into the truth, it would be extremely beneficial for him. The road of martial arts was a long path. This truth was the laws of the way. If at the beginning, one could point straight to the primeval source along the long path, then even if traversing the path was filled with difficulties, as long as one could endure it and fully understood it, one could skyrocket, achieving great things. Of course, those who had no talent would not dare to take this arduous path. This path was fraught with difficulties, and there would be delayed achievements and breakthroughs. At one point in time, one would grow frail with age and they would lose their potential. One could die of old age without reaching the realm of a human lord. Then what was the point in cultivating martial arts? I guess this old man has high regards for me, Yi Yun muttered to himself. It cost one glory point to stay in the ancient tomb for one day. It was possible for a person to not gain any insight. So an ordinary person would not risk it. It was most likely that in every batch of rookies, only figures like Qin Haotian and Luo Huer would have the opportunity to enter the tomb. I don't think I'm the only person who has entered this ancient tomb. I wonder what people like Qin Haotian learned. Yi Yun did not believe that the old man had decided he was a future sage with a glance. It was most likely that he chose people who were outstanding to test them in the ancient tomb. Those who could learn anything could stay behind. Those who could not learn anything had no choice but to give up. With this thought in mind, Yi Yun suddenly had an idea. He let his spiritual energy interface with the heaven's eyeball and the purple crystal, and then he opened up his energy vision. By now, Yi Yun's energy vision was almost perfect. Everything in the world was formed of energy, so in his vision, all the superficial appearances were ignored, leaving behind only the ultimate source. When Yi Yun used his energy vision to look at the words, Yi Yun was surprised. Oh. This is... Yi Yun's breathing stagnated. Typically when one engraved words on stone, words were words. There was nothing special with marks on stone. But these 4 lines were completely different. In his energy vision, these words were no longer static words, but flowing energy lights. This astonished Yi Yun. This great person had left behind words that embodied within them laws, and yet, the energy had not dissipated after tens of millions of years. Yi Yun realized that this energy was totally different from the energy of the primordial species or herbs. He could control the energy from the primordial species and herbs with the purple crystal, and he could absorb them to raise his level. But the energy within these 4 lines seemed to be an independent system. The energy that these words contained was not strong, but it felt primeval. Primeval energy. Yi Yun felt that he had been exposed to a lot of things in the short period of the past 2 hours. It was like a mysterious door had suddenly opened before him, and it was sending a wave of all sorts of primeval truths. Each truth was extremely mysterious, and it was coming straight from the primeval source. It was a pity that he could not completely understand these truths at his current level. It made Yi Yun feel like he had many things to learn, but he was dazzled by it all. Take it slow. The road ahead of me is still long. There's no rush. With this thought, he calmed his mind. He took whatever he could get. He had to start somewhere on that long journey. As such, Yi Yun began maintaining his energy vision, and he began pondering over the saber truths in the 4 lines. From the perspective of the naked eye, these words seemed stationary. Although they gave off an illusion of jumping out of the wall, it was still an illusion. But in the energy vision, it was completely different. The words were all moving. As they had condensed primeval energy within themselves, they were slowly flowing. The bright energy light contained an inexplicable philosophy within them. It was as if each flow contained a fundamental law. Yi Yun soon immersed himself in this view. He fell into a trance and forgot the time of day. From midnight to daybreak, till noon. The next day's rookie ranking competition had begun, and Yi Yun was absent. Oh? Yi Yun didn't come? Yi Yun was now a prominent figure. He was noticed everywhere he went. As an important cultivator, he had a special spot in the arena. As such, many people noticed that Yi Yun was absent from the rookie ranking competition. Today, Chu Xiaoran and Xiaonyo will both be having their own battles. They are already planning to charge into the top 3,000. Yet, Yi Yun doesn't want to watch their battles? As Chu Xiaoran and Xiongnu were challenging veteran cultivators who were ranked in the top 3,000, the atmosphere at today's rookie competition was more intense. Many of the 4th and 5th year cultivators in the Tai Divine City had come to watch. The arena, which was usually empty due to its large area, was now packed, giving off a crowded feeling. Yi Yun might not be planning to compete against Chu Xiaoran and Xiongnu. These two are monsters, but even if Yi Yun doesn't plan on fighting them, he should still show up and watch. Many could not comprehend the situation. What was more important than watching Chu Xiaoran and Xiongnu challenge cultivators in the top 3,000? It could even be said that in a few days' time, it would become a battle between Chu Xiaoran and Xiongnu. When that happened, even the entire Tai Divine City would scramble to watch it. It was impressive that a battle between two rookies could reach such a level. The battles are starting soon. For a rookie to enter the Earth Rankings top 3,000 in 3 months, and for there to be 2 of them, this is probably something that hasn't been seen in the Tai Divine City for the past few decades. People were buzzing with activity. They were all looking forward to today's competition. At this moment, in a spacious room above the 90th floor of the Central Divine Tower, 2 old men were sitting on chairs. They were looking at a disc array which was depicting the battles happening in the arena. One of the 2 old men was Elder Jiangu, and the other was the thin old man who brought Yi Yun into the ancient tomb. "You took Yi Yun to the Saber Tomb?" Elder Jiangu asked suddenly. The old man nodded and said, "Yes. I find this kid a little interesting, he might gain some insights." "Might?" Elder Jiangu knit his eyebrows. "Just because of the word might, you took him there?" Elder Jiangu was obviously displeased with the old man's actions. "So what? The ancient tomb may be a forbidden ground, but there are certain privileges that still allows one to access it. Besides, even if the kid doesn't gain any insight, he has nothing to lose." "Nothing to lose?" Elder Jiangu shook his head helplessly. "San Yan, you always do as you please and do not think it over. It's not like you do not know that the primeval truths inscribed in the Saber Tomb are too difficult to comprehend. Once it is understood, it would be an excellent achievement. But if one cannot gain any insight, it will be a waste of time. The way of the Saber Truth is too deep. It can easily cause obsession within a person. What I am afraid of is that this kid might be too stubborn. Even after failing, he does not know when to stop. At that point, he would be wasting his time and energy. Time was too precious for young talents. As for these talents, they were mostly arrogant and determined. This was generally a good thing, but there were times where it could be a bad thing. A determined young genius might be mesmerized by the truth of the primeval source. Even if one stopped him, he would always think about those words as if he was possessed. At that point, one could not stop him, but neither would stopping him be right. Based on a person's perceptivity, it would be a waste of precious time if one ended up not figuring out anything. There were many cases like this in the Tai Divine City. There were even some geniuses who spent their whole lives trying to figure it out, but they only ended up feeling more and more bitter about it. Eventually, their lives were wasted away. Hence, the Tai Divine City took the ancient tomb very seriously. It was not easily opened so they could prevent accidental access. But this San Yan was erratic. Whoever he found interesting, he would take him to the ancient tomb. He was practically harming them. Old freak, all sorts of geniuses come to the Tai Divine City for training. It's normal to die, yet you are always so careful. How would you nurture a real expert, like a sage? You may object to my actions, but just a few years ago, I brought that little rascal, Qin Haotian, in there, and he gained something. Qin Haotian was a swordsman. The left of the 2 chambers in the Tai ancient tomb was the chamber of Saber Truth, while the right chamber was the chamber of Sword Truth. Of course, Qin Haotian went into the Sword Truth chamber. It was a mystery who left behind the words in both chambers. Elder Jiangu shook his head. Qin Haotian was an exception. He was born for the sword. he is almost one with the sword. Jin Haotian almost cannot leave his sword and he can only use a sword. You cannot expect everyone to be like him. As for Yi Yun, he might not be a person who has to use a saber. Chapter 234, The Rookie Competitions last 2 days. The rookie ranking competition carried on over the next few days. This rookie ranking competition was the most grand one seen in the past 20 years of the Taiya Divine City's history. It could be said that it was filled with experts. Qianniu and Xu Xiaoran entered the top 3,000 on the second day of the ranking matches. This was indeed a result to be proud of. In addition, the man from a humble background, Gu Mu, managed to gather attention after suddenly surprising everyone in his first match, which ended with him entering the top 4,500. Although it was worse than Qianniu and Xu Xiaoran's result, it was still a result that left many rookies in the dust. Because of this new ranking, Gu Mu was ranked third amongst the rookies. As for the Yi Yun, who was more famous than Gu Mu, he had not appeared until today. The rookie ranking competition lasted for 10 days. The first 4 days were for the rookies to challenge one another. It was mostly for the average rookies to rank themselves amongst each other, mainly for those ranked over 10,000. From the 5th day onwards, elites like Qianniu and Xu Xiaoran began climbing up the Earth rankings. According to the competition rules, a person could take part in up to 12 matches a day. But these 12 battles only referred to the limit of the number of challenges one could receive a day. If one wanted to challenge others, one could only issue 2 challenges a day. Typically, when rookies climbed up the Earth rankings, the common practice was to gradually move up, rising up the rankings bit by bit. After all, this was the first time the rookies were climbing up the Earth rankings. They had to slowly battle it out and compare their own strength to the veteran cultivators' strength as they slowly made their way up. Typically, rookies who aimed to enter the top 6,000 would begin in the top 8,000. By doing so, they got used to the battle styles of the veteran cultivators while gaining experience at the same time. In 6 days, one could challenge others 12 times. It was sufficient for deciding their overall ranking. As for the final result for the rookie rankings, it was calculated through this method. Every rookie would be ranked according to the Earth ranking they would get in their battle history. The higher one ranked, the higher they would be ranked amongst the rookies. If the rookies fought between themselves, then the victor would be ranked ahead. The rules sounded complicated, but they were actually very simple. If Qianniu was ranked 2900 on the Earth rankings and Xu Xiaoran was ranked 2800. Even if Xu Xiaoran was to be defeated by someone else on the last day, Xu Xiaoran would still be ranked first amongst the rookies. But if Qianniu felt he was stronger than Xu Xiaoran, he could challenge Xu Xiaoran on the last day. If he won, then first place would go to Qianniu. These rules were extremely fair. They would also reflect the rookies' ranking in an impartial manner. If the rookies were to take turns to fight their ranking matches, it would take a lot of time to rank 2,000 people. But with the Divine City's ranking rules, a person only needed to partake in slightly more than 10 matches. It was the 9th day of the rookie rankings. There were only 2 days left before the end. The rookie rankings were basically set at this point. There were 3 rookies who entered the top 5,000 of the Earth rankings. There were more than 100 who entered the top 8,000. As for Yi Yun, he was absent. His ranking was still at 10,003. Many could not comprehend why he was not present. What was Yi Yun doing? What's wrong with Yi Yun? We haven't seen him for days. Could he be set aback by Qianniu and Xu Xiaoran? Qianniu and Xu Xiaoran were monsters. After Yi Yun saw their match, he had been absent from the 2nd day onwards. As such, many people made this assumption. How could he be this weak? Also, there's no need for Yi Yun to compete with Qianniu or Xu Xiaoran. He can easily enter the top 5,000 of the Earth rankings to vie for 3rd place with Gu Mu. If he were to obtain 3rd place, then the rookie awards he would receive would still make many envious. People's tongues wagged. It was now the second to last day, yet Yi Yun had not participated in any challenge battles. He had only 4 challenge chances left. No one knew what he was thinking. But at this moment, not many were concerned with Yi Yun. Everyone's attention was focused on Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran. They were all thinking that it would not be surprising if Chunyo and Chu Xiaoran were to battle on the last day. This battle would decide who was first amongst this batch's rookies. Just thinking of this battle made many feel excited. At this moment, in the central divine tower, Elder Jiangu and the thin old man, who took Yi Yun to the Saber Tomb to gain insight on the primeval source Sabertooth, were playing chess. Both of them were old friends. To people at that level, having a confidant was not easy. Due to their long lifespan, many of their friends and relatives had slowly died of age throughout their long lives. People who could go along with them were few and far between. Song Yan, how's that kid Yi Yun? Elder Jiangu casually asked as he placed his chess piece. He had been secretly paying attention to the rookie competition over the past few days. Oh, he hasn't come out yet, the thin old man answered without much thought. Elder Jiangu frowned. He still hasn't come out? How many days has he been in there? For a Purple Blood Realm Junior to stay in the Saber Tomb for so long, is he planning to discover something? He's been in there for the past 4 to 5 days, the thin old man played with his chess piece and chuckled. I have been paying attention to him for the past few days. He has been sitting quietly in front of the words bearing the saber truths. Seeing him in that state, I did not call out to him. Speaking of this, I told the kid that he had to pay 1 glory point per day in the Saber Tomb. Now that he has stayed in there for that long, I still haven't gotten the remaining glory points from him. He sure lucked out. You, Elder Jiangu was speechless. To think that you are still in a mood for joking. This Yi Yun has been sitting in the Saber Tomb for so long. It's most likely that he has gone astray trying to gain insight. Back then, not even Qin Haotian stayed in the Sword Tomb for that long. The words of the Sabertooth were too profound. For a Purple Blood Realm warrior to try to understand them, it would not be a surprise if he gained an incorrect understanding of them. If someone went too far on this incorrect path, it would adversely affect their future development. Song Yan, quickly bring the kid out. If he has gone astray, correct him. Do not allow him to go astray any further. Elder Jiangu had always been concerned about the younger generation. Many elders in the Tai A Divine City were oblivious to the younger generation that came to the Divine City to train. After all, a genius like Qin Haotian only had a 1% chance of becoming a sage. In the long lives of these elders, they had gotten accustomed to seeing geniuses. Slowly, they did not pay much attention to them. Only those that became a sage gained their attention. Hi, you really are long-winded, but the rookie ranking competition is about to come to an end. This kid really should come out, if not he will miss it. With this thought in mind, the thin old man let go of the chess piece and walked towards the Saber Tomb. At this point, Yi Yun was fully immersed in a trance-like state in the Saber Tomb. In Yi Yun's energy vision, line after line of energy light beams circulated. These flowing light beams were like saber beams moving. In Yi Yun's vision, these words did not look like words, they looked like the slashing and dicing of a saber. Each saber move's trajectory path was deeply branded in Yi Yun's iris. In his soul, Yi Yun constantly demonstrated it and imitated it. By using the word strokes as saber moves, the energy flow within the words were, faintly, in conjunction with the energy flow within Yi Yun's meridians. Every word stroke has an energy direction. And it's in the same direction as the energy flow in my meridians. It's really magical. Yi Yun spoke to himself. The person who engraved these words could even inscribe the sutras that controlled the energy within the meridians, within the words. This method was completely unheard of. This person had clearly perfected his control over energy and laws. It was no wonder that the first city lord of the Tai A Divine City used this person's tomb as an array field for the foundation of the Tai A Divine City. As Yi Yun was having these thoughts, he suddenly heard a zha-zha-zha mechanism sound. He turned his head and saw the large bronze door open. Son Yen was standing by the doorway. This old man stroked his chin. He was looking at Yi Yun as if Yi Yun was an animal in a cage. "Kid, do you know how many days you have been in here?" Son Yen asked. Yi Yun shook his head. "It can't be that short." Over the past few days, Yi Yun had been focused on cultivation. Whenever he was hungry, he ate a bone relic that he had. There was no way of telling the time of day in this ancient tomb, hence, Yi Yun did not know how much time had passed. "Oh, it's been about 4 days, not more than 5, so? You owe me 3 glory points. When it comes to it, you will need to pay me back." Son Yen chuckled. Yi Yun was shocked because it had been so long. He really did not think he had been in here for so long. But over the past few days, Yi Yun had gained a lot. Even if he had to pay the 3 glory points, it was worth it. As for the rookie ranking competition, he had been absent for so long. There were only 2 more days left, which meant he had to rush back. Yi Yun deeply craved the rewards for the rookie ranking competition. "Thank you for the senior's reminder." Yi Yun cupped his hands. The old man was stunned. This kid actually thanked him. Was he going to renege you on those glory points? "Kid, let me tell you. The ancient tomb's saber truth words lead straight to the primeval source. If you gained any insight, it will let you skyrocket. Your first steps on the martial arts path will be in front of others. You will not take many detours and will have a great future. But, if your level is too low, it will not be easy to gain any insight." In all of these years, this old man has brought many young geniuses into the saber and sword tombs to learn the essence of the saber or sword. But only Qin Haotian was able to gain a tiny understanding of sword intent. Qin Haotian is a natural swordsman. He has extremely high perceptivity with the way of the sword. "Kid, you must decide where you stand in your abilities. The things you can understand, do your best in understanding it. If you cannot understand something, do not force it. The road ahead of you is still long. In the future, when you are at a higher level, it will be much easier to study it when you come again." It was rare for the old man to say such words with such well-meant intent. After Yi Yun heard this, all he said was, "Thank you for the senior's guidance." This kid. Son Yen stroked his chin. He felt that Yi Yun had a hint of confidence within his eyes. He was not set aback by the saber truth words, but he gained confidence from them. For a person with a low level to understand a high-level law and even managing to obtain confidence from it, it was not a good sign. Because most of the time, they should find it very difficult to understand, so how could they have confidence? Those who had confidence had most likely gone astray, so they thought it was simple. Could this kid gone on the wrong path? If he really took the wrong path, then the confidence he has will have the opposite effect later. For things that depended on perceptivity, it could only be understood and not explained. Son Yen was powerless to render assistance. Yi Yun had to rely on himself. "I can't have caused problems by taking this kid to the saber tomb, right?" Seeing Yi Yun look so confident, the old man really turned worried. Such people usually were wrong without knowing it. But Yi Yun had already bidden farewell and walked out of the tomb. He was rushing to join the rookie ranking competition. It was now noon of the 9th day of the ranking competition. If Yi Yun wanted to register a challenge battle, he had only 4 chances left. 4 chances. It's enough. With this thought, Yi Yun walked towards the arena. Chapter 235, The First Match's Opponent. With the sun high up in the sky, there was finally a trace of warmth flowing through the snow-covered Tai Divine City. It was midday on the 9th day of the rookie ranking competition. There was a short lunch break at midday during the competition, but many spectators did not leave the venue. After all, as long as a warrior had a sufficient amount of yuan qi stored within his body, he would be fine without eating for a few days. However, the most important reason why most of the spectators stayed was because there were two important matches in the afternoon. The first match was Chionyo challenging a veteran cultivator ranked at 2800 on the Earth ranking. The next match was even more ridiculous. Chu Xiaoran was challenging someone ranked at 2600 on the Earth ranking. Both of them had just entered the top 3,000, and many of those veterans who were around this ranking had spent 4 years training in the Tai Divine City. These people were basically peak purple blood experts and were outstanding compared to other warriors at the same level. Going beyond 3,000, it was not easy to proceed forward. The competition they faced became increasingly intense. Of course, people wanted to see such a battle. Compared to Chionyo and Chu Xiaoran, the other rookies were only there to accentuate their prominence. Actually, in the last 2 days, there were not many rookie battles. Now, if one did not challenge someone ranked in the top 7,000, one would feel embarrassed to go up on stage. People were fighting against the top 3,000, yet you are fighting someone ranked over 10,000. Would you have the face going up? I think Chionyo can still win challenging the 2,800 ranking. As for Chu Xiaoran, she is really bold to challenge the 2,600 ranking. The chances of losing are high, someone expressed his view. Many had been discussing for a long time about the results of the two matches Chionyo and Chu Xiaoran were taking part in. Everyone had their own view, which created a fiery atmosphere. At this time, someone suddenly said, "Isn't that Yiyun over there?" Everyone was shocked and they looked towards the direction of the voice. All they saw, nearby in the participant benches, was a youth in linen clothes walk to his seat before sitting down. This youth was indeed Yiyun. It's really Yiyun. He finally came. The rookie ranking competition was almost over. It was already the second to last day, yet Yiyun was still ranked at 10,003. People were speechless when they saw Yiyun. He had no sense of urgency and he was sitting at his seat in a carefree manner. It was alright if he did not have the capability, but he clearly had the chance at entering the top 3. Yiyun still has 4 matches. It can actually be in time. If I were him, my first match will be to battle someone in the top 8,000. By securing the lowest ranking, he can next challenge the top 6,000 and win it. The first battle on the last day can be used to directly challenge Gumu. If he were to win, then everything will be settled. If not, he still has one more match to secure his 4th place. Someone said. Many people found this reasonable. They were all weaker people. They had to go through more than 10 matches to find their ranking. But Yiyun was strong, so he could be more willful. He could use Gumu as his measuring stick. He could secure his ranking in 3 matches. At this time, people saw Yiyun take out his 1,000 army saber from his interspatial ring. He unsheathed it and began polishing the shiny blade. Seeing this made people speechless. It sure was an unordinarily calm scene. Yiyun slowly polished his saber. Actually, only the blades of mortals had to be polished with a tarp to maintain its sharpness. But a treasure saber like the 1,000 army saber did not need polishing. But Yiyun still polished it bit by bit in a careful manner. This was not a useless act. Yiyun was actually reaffirming the knowledge gained from the saber tomb as he tidied up the thoughts in his mind. Through polishing the saber, he could feel more compatible with the saber. At the same time, he could empty his mind and optimizing his understandings. Yiyun silently polished his saber for an hour. The afternoon competition was about to begin. Yiyun stood up and picked up a form. After filling it, he raised his head. "Referee!" Yiyun shouted out. Immediately, the surrounding people's gaze was focused on Yiyun. They knew Yiyun had most likely chosen his opponent. In the first few days of the rookie ranking competition, Yiyun was so popular that many people challenged him. So his matches had to be arranged in advance by handing out challenge tokens so as to ensure that everyone did not fight more than 12 matches a day. But in the last few days of the rookie ranking competition, this system was not needed. Those that wanted to fight were mostly done fighting. As such, the timing for battles were freely chosen. It was not a problem to decide on fighting an opponent right at that moment. Once the opponent was up on stage, the battle could immediately begin. Guess who Yi Yun will be challenging in his first match? Someone asked. The first person should be a veteran cultivator ranked in the top 700 to 800. This would be the more certain choice. I think it is impossible. Yi Yun actually dared to use a brick to handle Lu Yuxing. This shows that he's extremely confident. There's no way his opponent's ranking is at 700 to 800. He might be able to challenge the top 5,000 straight away. He might even challenge Gumu. Challenge Gumu? To set it in stone? This is impossible. Yi Yun has disappeared for the past few days. His first battle after appearing should logically be someone who he's confident in beating. By securing his first match, he can build up his morale. After holding back for so long, if he were to lose his first match, it will be extremely embarrassing. Many felt that it was most appropriate to fight someone that guaranteed them victory in the first match. But the previous speaker remained obstinate. He said, "Wait and see. Think about the glorious history of Yi Yun taking down Lu Yuxing with a brick. It is not impossible for Yi Yun to challenge Gumu in his first match." The referee looked at Yi Yun and asked, "You want to challenge someone?" "Yes," Yi Yun said as he handed the challenge form he had just completed. The referee took it and with a sweeping glance, he gave an odd look. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Yi Yun nodded and returned to his seat. The referee did not say anything else. It was the freedom of the participants to challenge whomever they wanted. He could not interfere in it. The referee began to arrange the order of the battles. Many were curious who Yi Yun's first opponent would be. Very soon, the referee gave the answer because the first battle in the afternoon was Yi Yun's. Having been absent from the rookie ranking competition for so many days, Yi Yun was first on stage the moment he came back. It seemed that even the referee wanted to see Yi Yun's performance. People raised their spirits. Besides Qianyou and Xu Xiaoran's match, they anticipated Yi Yun's first battle after his reappearance. But when the referee announced Yi Yun's opponent, everyone was shocked. Divine Wilderness Stage, 10,003, Yi Yun. Challenging 2980, Qianyou. What? Challenging Qianyou? People were shocked. His first match was neither to secure a ranking nor to challenge Gumu, but to challenge the second-placed rookie, Qianyou. Challenging Gumu was already quite an exaggeration, but he actually challenged Qianyou. What was he thinking? People were not able to react in time. Gumu, who was ranked third amongst the rookies, frowned. In this rookie ranking competition, he had always treated Yi Yun as his greatest rival. When Yi Yun appeared, he had been mentally prepared to fight a bloody battle with Yi Yun. In the past few days, he had accumulated a lot of combat experience in his battles. He was confident he could beat Yi Yun. But he did not expect Yi Yun to ignore him. Yi Yun had directly skipped over him to challenge Qianyou. This made Gumu peeved. He had been disregarded. This Yi Yun actually dares to disregard me. Does he think I am not qualified to be his opponent? Gumu clenched his fists. Yi Yun was too disdainful. Having made all the preparations to compete with Yi Yun, yet Yi Yun completely did not put him in his sights. He sure has guts. I'll wait till you lose to Qianyou. I'll then battle you to show you the consequences of disregarding me. With this thought in mind, Gumu looked at Yi Yun with strong fighting spirit. Challenging me. Qianyou was also surprised. He glanced at Yi Yun and immediately smiled. Interesting. It's true the young are rash. I thought you would battle me only after you beat Gumu. Qianyou stood up. He was always very interested in Yi Yun. But he never expected that Yi Yun had the guts to challenge him in his first match. Since you are so confident, I'll use the white metal armor to take you on. It is me giving you sufficient respect. Saying this, Xianyou took out a giant glove from his ring and wore it on his right hand. Ka-cha! 3 steel claws shot out from the claw with a cold shimmer. At the same time, Xianyou's left hand was equipped with a large shield. Following that, with a thought, 2 circular metal pieces on Xianyou's chest and back began to shine. A set of white metal battle armor appeared, covering Xianyou's body. In a few seconds, Xianyou was covered in his white metal armor and he was fully armed. Ha! With a shout, Xianyou leaped onto the stage. He was wearing tens of thousands of pounds of white metal armor. He had leaped from more than 30 meters away from the stage and he was like a pouncing tiger. Boom! Xianyou's 2 legs squatted to cushion his landing as he put a hand on the ground. He was like a meteorite that landed on the stage. The loud bang caused the entire arena to quiver. It made people exclaim. Under Xianyou's feet, the thick purple tungsten tiles had clearly sunken in. It was obvious how strong Xianyou's leap was. Ignoring Xianyou's attacks, just this leap was enough to break a person into pieces. Terrifying. He's basically a humanoid primordial desolate beast. Someone sighed. Seeing Xianyou's stance, one would lose 30% of their willpower. A typical person would not dare fight him. Even the dark horse amongst the rookies, Gumu, did not have the guts to challenge Xianyou. This was because Gumu knew that the gap between them was large. He was no match for Xianyou at all. Xianyou stood up. After his 1.9 meter tall and burly figure was covered in heavy armor, all his muscles bulged out with worm-like veins. It was as if he was about to explode. Chapter 236, Fighting Xianyou. Although Xianyou was lower in the rankings than Xu Xiaoran, if someone was forced to make a decision on who to fight between the two, they would still face Xu Xiaoran rather than Xianyou. This was because Xianyou gave people a sense of immense pressure. Many people were unable to muster up their courage while standing in front of Xianyou. On the other side of the stage, Yi Yun held his 1,000 army saber and walked onto the stage. He stood 30 meters away from Xianyou and faced him directly. Yi Yun was finally going to use his weapon for a battle. This was reasonable, after all, his opponent was Xianyou. This Yi Yun is finally going to use his saber. I wonder if his saber technique is any good. People discussed. Previously, Yi Yun only used a brick to stomp his opponents. This was indeed very formidable, but this did not mean that by not using the brick and switching to the 1,000 army saber, his strength would become even more perverse. Of course, the 1,000 army saber was stronger than the brick, but no matter how much stronger it was, it all depended on Yi Yun's saber technique. Yi Yun's saber is too long. Against any typical opponent, a long weapon is advantageous. But against Xianyou, once he grabs it, Yi Yun will not be able to use it anymore. Even if it is not caught, just trying to slash Xianyou's body might not be enough to break through his defense. Xianyou had an ability, which was that once a weapon was caught, there was no way of getting it back. This was the reason why many people did not have the confidence when facing Xianyou. It would be too embarrassing to lose their weapon to him. And Xianyou was very fast. Trying to keep the weapon away from Xianyou's clutches? It would be very difficult. Everyone acknowledged that a light weapon was useless against Xianyou. Yi Yun's saber was long and light. It could stir up a whirlwind by slicing and dicing and it looked cool, but against Xianyou's heavy armor, it was absolutely useless. Can we begin? Xianyou looked at Yi Yun with a grin. It was as if he could not wait any longer. Sure, Yi Yun also laughed. He casually placed the 1,000 army saber vertically beside his body. The extremely long 1,000 army saber seemed to stand vertically on the ground without falling. It was a strange scene. Many cultivators were stumped. According to normal circumstances, a saber had no chance of standing vertical on the ground, as it would lose its balance, but Yi Yun's saber seemed to have a spirit within it. Xiongnu was shocked too, but instantaneously, he licked his lips. Interesting. I'll see if you can keep your saber away from me. Saying this, Xiongnu leaped up towards him. Boom! Like a pounce from a primordial beast, every jump caused the stage to tremor. Even while wearing his heavy armor, Xiongnu's speed was not any slower. Ka-cha! Xiongnu landed heavily on the ground with a foot, while Yi Yun disappeared. Phew! Yi Yun had unsheathed the 1,000 army saber. The scabbard still remained standing vertically on the ground while the sharp blade began to send out beautiful blade beams. Yi Yun had finally started to use his saber. Like a dragon traversing the ocean, the 1,000 army saber made a screeching sound. In that moment, the blade beams formed a web as they enclosed Xiongnu. Yi Yun's attack speed was so fast that it dazzled everyone. Xiongnu's eyes lit up. Nice one! He shouted and contracted his body. He charged forwards with his shield leading the charge. Crackle! Numerous blade beams exploded on Xiongnu's shield. The thick shield was like an impregnable fortress wall. Every blade beam that came in contact with it was destroyed from his charge. Pa! Yi Yun and Xiongnu passed each other. After Xiongnu stopped, he turned to face Yi Yun. Your saber technique is not bad. Too bad, it cannot break through my defenses. As he said that, Xiongnu cracked his neck. His joints issued a crackling sound. People were left in wonder. Just from this defense alone, it allowed Xiongnu to stand unbeatable. Your armor is also not bad. Yi Yun gave his review. Xiongnu laughed. You are still in the mood to review my armor? As he said this, Xiongnu began walking towards Yi Yun. He was walking slowly and he was compressing the space Yi Yun could use to dodge bit by bit. Ka-cha! Ka-cha! As Xiongnu walked, the metal armor clanked around. The sound that approached people gave them an immense pressure. Shield bash! Suddenly, Xiongnu charged forward at Yi Yun with his huge shield. Yi Yun dodged and avoided Xiongnu's shield bash. With Yi Yun's speed, it was very difficult for Xiongnu to hit Yi Yun with his shield attack. Xiongnu took a step forward and swiped with his claw, but Yi Yun's body was like a willow that was blown up by the wind, easily dodging the attack once again. At this moment, Xiongnu sneered. With a slight turn of his body, the huge glove on his right hand followed. Sha! 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 The 3 sharp claws suddenly protruded and shot towards Yi Yun. The metal claws contained within them an array method. When Xiongnu injected them with Yuan Qi, he could cause the claws to shoot out. This attack would catch people off guard at a close distance. Oh! Yi Yun's eye focused on the 3 flying claws and he twisted his body in the air to avoid them. At the same time, Yi Yun's 1,000 army saber reversed and slashed at Xiongnu's throat. Without taking another glance, Xiongnu stretched his hand towards the 1,000 army saber to grab it. He wanted to grab Yi Yun's saber. This scene made every warrior hold their breath. In the previous battles during the competition, no matter who it was, whenever Xiongnu attempted to grab their weapon, they would all pull it back. If Xiongnu grabbed their weapon, there was no point fighting on. Yi Yun's saber was narrow and long, so it was obvious what would happen once it was grabbed. Everyone thought that Yi Yun would pull his saber back. But he did not. With an expressionless face, the saber continued slashing downwards. The way of the saber has no end in sight. The Saber Truth's first line had already explained the saber's nature. How could Yi Yun pull his saber back just because he was afraid his opponent would steal his weapon? Oh? Not retreating? Xiongnu was surprised and with a grin, he grabbed the saber. Clang! A metallic clang ensued. Xiongnu had grabbed onto the 1,000 army saber without any concern. This scene quaked the hearts of everyone. The saber has been grabbed. This. No one knew what to say. With Ian's speed, they felt that he could use his speed to embroil Chunyo in a long battle. If he did not face him head-on, this fight would drag out, without him losing his saber and with it, his reputation. But no one expected Ian to carry on slashing down with his saber, which allowed Chunyo to grab his blade easily. What was there left to fight? Was he just going to lose just like that? Hee, Chunyo laughed, "Your saber is mine. You should get another weapon." Saying this, Chunyo tightly grabbed the saber with his right hand as he planned to pull it away from Ian. Ian remained expressionless. With a slight rotation of his wrist, his body's yuan qi circulated and the Thousand Army saber seemed to be covered in flames. Oh! Chunyo was stunned. The saber in his hand suddenly became hot. It was scalding. What, is this yuan qi? Before Chunyo could react, Ian's eyes flashed. The emperor amongst weapons, reigning supreme. Cha! The Thousand Army saber whistled through the air like a long dragon cry. A sharp blade beam rushed up to the heavens. Blood appeared. The Thousand Army saber easily returned into Ian's hands, while Chunyo's hand was left frozen in midair as it trembled. Pa da! Pa da! More and more blood began dripping, like pearls dropping from a cut necklace. The entire arena fell silent. Only the clear sound of dripping blood could be heard. This. Everyone was stunned. Chunyo was injured. His hand, which was encased in metal armor, had grabbed Ian's Thousand Army saber, but Ian still managed to reclaim his saber and at the same time, sliced Chunyo's palm open. After so many battles, this was the first time Chunyo was injured. How could that happen? Did Chunyo's glove armor rip open? You actually. Chunyo looked at his palm in disbelief. The armor on his hand had cracked open, and not only that, the armor even had traces of having melted. Melted? Thinking back to the burning sensation, could it be fire? Are you a fire elemental warrior? Chunyo was shocked. Even a fire elemental warrior was not supposed to be this strong. His armor was made out of white metal, obtained from the deep sea. It was extremely hard and it was almost impossible to break through. It would be almost impossible to melt it with the capabilities of the Purple Blood Realm. Yun shook his head. Fire? The yuan qi in his body did resemble fire, but there was an essential difference. After learning the Taiya sacred technique, Yun's yuan qi had transformed. If one had to describe its elemental property, then it should be pure yang. If this is the limit of your power, then this battle is over. Saying this, Yun slashed his Thousand Army saber downwards again. Phew! The splendid blade beam slashed towards Chunyo. Chunyo contracted his pupils. He felt that this blade beam was much stronger than the ones before. This was because Yun had injected pure yang into it. Chunyo retreated and placed his large shield before his chest. However, Yun's blade beam was everywhere. The pure yang saber qi completely melted through Chunyo's protective yuan qi. Deep marks were left on Chunyo's white armor. The saber qi had also entered his body, now raging through him. This saber qi had a terrifying burning power in it. It burned Chunyo, causing his blood to go turbulent. Yun's saber attack was too strong. A weapon's strength was determined not by its weight, but by how much yuan qi could be injected into it. The blade beam sent out by Yun was matchless in terms of sharpness. Cha! Another beam flashed. Chunyo's body tremored as another bloody line appeared on his chest. Dang! 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 Chunyo retreated several steps with a look of shock. At this time, even his face had a saber scar. Blood was dripping from all of his wounds. The surrounding audience's mouths were agape. This scene had gone beyond their comprehension. They could not understand how this had happened. Xiongnu's armor was imbued with his Yuan Qi, and his defense was extremely strong. People thought that Xiongnu was invincible. But his defense had been broken by Yi Yun. Yi Yun's attack did not look special in any way. Xiongnu wiped the blood off his mouth and said, "Powerful." Saying that, he took the shield off his left hand. "It looks like I cannot defeat you while wearing this armor. It seems like I have to take my armor off to do battle with a person like you." Chapter 237, Divine Strength Ox King Skill. Taking off his armor to battle? Hearing Xiongnu's words, the audience were stunned. Most people thought that one's battle power would be stronger when covered in full body armor. If he took his armor off, wouldn't Xiongnu's defense strength drop down a notch? Xiongnu could not withstand Yi Yun's saber even while he was wearing armor. This is so terrifying. How is Yi Yun's saber so sharp? Xiongnu has never been hurt while fighting. No one could understand it. Previously, when Xiongnu entered the top 3,000, he had fought a veteran cultivator who used a long battle axe. That battle axe was extremely heavy, but when it struck Xiongnu's armor, Xiongnu was still able to withstand it using his armor that was protected by his Yuan Qi. Yi Yun's saber did not look as powerful as the long battle axe, so how did he break through Xiongnu's defenses? People looked with wonder and awe at Yi Yun's saber. That sharp long saber was still dripping blood. Pa-da! Pa-da! Drop after drop of blood bloomed upon landing onto the purple tungsten ground, like plum blossoms. This saber was too terrifying. By now, Xiongnu had taken off his helmet and removed his chestplate and backplate. Every part of this armor set resounded loudly when it was thrown onto the stage. It was hard to imagine how heavy it was when every part was added up. The armor is used to provide defense. This set of white metal armor has outstanding defense capabilities. But, as Xiongnu said this, he threw the large glove from his right hand. The white metal armor is too heavy. I wear it not for protection, but to limit myself and to train my strength. I am constantly using my family's secret technique, Divine Strength Ox King Skill, to counteract the white metal armor's weight. As such, I am constantly cultivating. And only by taking off the white metal armor can I push my power to an extreme. While saying this, Xiongnu had completely removed all of his armor. He was wearing black, tight-fitting clothes. His muscles stretching out the fabric of his clothes. Xiongnu roared. Ha! A surge of Yuan Qi exploded from Xiongnu's body as his muscles began expanding. Vein after vein bulged and twisted. Even Xiongnu's height grew taller as a result. He was originally 1.9 meters tall. Now, he was more than 2 meters tall. His arms were as thick as an adult's thigh. The long hair on his nearly bald head also grew longer under his power, all the way to his back. After revealing his Divine Strength Ox King Skill, Xiongnu's aura was completely different. He took out a large polearm from his interspatial ring. This polearm was as long as Xiongnu's height. The polearm's shaft was as thick as a child's wrist. And the polearm's head was about 3 feet wide. This peerless weapon gave people chills when they saw it. Ha 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 ha. This feels great. It really feels great. Xiongnu laughed heartily. It's been a while since I completely removed all of my armor to use the Divine Strength Ox King Skill. Xiongnu stretched his body comfortable as his joints crackled. The wounds that were previously opened by Yi Yun's Thousand Army saber had also stopped bleeding from the expansion of Xiongnu's muscles. Let me warn you. My body is an impenetrable body. This is a form of blood lineage. Although I have taken off my white metal armor, it has also released my Divine Strength Ox King Skill. With the support of the Divine Strength Ox King Skill protective Yuan Qi, my defense ability only strengthens and doesn't weaken. Hearing Xiongnu's words, the surrounding audience were secretly horrified. Xiongnu was too terrifying. An impenetrable body of a blood lineage. This was a rare physical state. It was no wonder Xianyou had such odd strength. By taking off his armor, Xianyou's defense actually strengthened. With increased defense, with his enormous strength, just being hit by that polearm was an obvious result. Xianyou seemed to not possess any weakness at this point. "Are you ready?" Just after saying this, with his large polearm, his figure moved like a gust of wind. His figure also formed many afterimages. He was too fast. People thought that Xianyou was not proficient in his speed. In fact, in the previous battles, Xianyou's speed was indeed slow. He even seldom took more than a few steps. Most of the time, he stood in the middle of the arena like a fortress. But Xianyou, who had now taken off his armor, was completely different. Only now did people realize that Xianyou's speed was as terrifying as his strength. Xianyou's power that exuded from his body was extremely overwhelming. Although he was heavy, but with his terrifying strength, the weight from his body was nothing. Although Xianyou's movements lacked style, just from the burst of speed he could muster, he was definitely amongst the best compared to warriors of the same level. His defense was strong, his attack power was strong, and his speed was also fast. How was one to win against such an opponent? People began to worry for Yi Yun. Xianyou, whose position could not be determined by the audience, suddenly appeared in front of Yi Yun. In an instant, the chaotic afterimages formed as one. With the large polearm in hand, all of Xianyou's strength exploded. Quaking heaven strike. Huge amounts of energy was imbued into the large polearm. Xianyou's polearm strike could easily flatten a mountain. Boom! The Yuan Qi within the large polearm exploded. A crater appeared in the purple tungsten arena. With a leap, Yi Yun floated away like a swan. He dodged it. Xianyou sneered and swiped the polearm at Yi Yun. Yi Yun's body was in midair as it twisted in an incredulous manner. He dodged it again as if he was blown away. Sha! 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 The large polearm moved in a dazzling manner. But Yi Yun's body seemed to be weightless. Every swipe of Xianyou's large polearm was avoided, it was as if he was blown away by the Yuan Qi. Even the overwhelming Yuan Qi blast was easily avoided by Yi Yun. Xianyou was fast, but Yi Yun was faster. By reaching the large success stage of minute subtlety, and with the pure Yang power's impetus, Yi Yun's speed had reached an incredible level. People's eyes were fully occupied by the scenes on stage. One violent explosion after another appeared while Xianyou and Yi Yun's afterimages weaved together. It was hard to imagine that this was a battle between two 13-year-old kids. What's happening on stage? The weaker warriors could not see what was going on. They only knew that the battle was extremely intense. As for who had the upper hand, they did not know. Xianyou has been continuously attacking while Yi Yun has been dodging them all. A better-ranked rookie explained, "Now it seems like Xianyou has the upper hand." Yi Yun has not exchanged blows with Xianyou at all. Of course he doesn't dare to exchange blows. Who would dare to parry that large polearm's force? Yi Yun's saber is so thin. If their weapons were to clash, Yi Yun's arms might go numb and his saber might even break. But Xianyou might not have the upper hand. Indeed, Yi Yun might not have the ability to clash with Xianyou, but Xianyou can't hit Yi Yun. If this drags on, Xianyou's stamina will rapidly deplete. No matter how strong he is, his stamina will gradually run out. Once that happens, Yi Yun can turn the tables and win. Someone held an opposing view. With the large success stage of minute subtlety, Yi Yun indeed held the upper hand. By using his movements to deplete Xianyou's stamina and finally counterattack when Xianyou was exhausted, that would be the smartest approach and was Yi Yun's only chance of winning. Yet again everyone became stumped, not knowing what the outcome of this match would be. People held their breaths and opened their eyes wide. They were afraid to miss even a single exhilarating move. But at this moment, Xianyou's speed began to slow down till he eventually stopped. He held his polearm in one hand and looked at Yi Yun with a burning fighting spirit. Oh! Yi Yun looked all around. Ah! You noticed it? Xionyou again twisted his thick neck out of habit. My previous attacks had all been dodged by you, but I actually set up a Yuan Qi cage. This is also a move of the Divine Strength Ox King skill, named Trapped Ox Lock. It can create a blockade in empty air from the Yuan Qi released in each attack. It is especially used to deal with fast opponents like you. With my powers, I can only maintain the Yuan Qi blockade for less than a minute, and I can only use it once. After that I will be too tired to use it a second time. Xionyou did not mind exposing the weakness of his attack, but this is already sufficient. As long as I can obtain a chance to strike with the Trapped Ox Lock, that would be enough. Xionyou confidently said. He was extremely confident. He was planning to win the battle with one strike. Chapter 238, Clinching Victory. Trapped Ox Lock? What's that? Hearing Xionyou's words, everyone focused their gazes on him. They could not see anything happening on the stage, but when they concentrated, they could feel the odd Yuan Qi fluctuations in the middle of the Divine Wilderness stage. The Yuan Qi was converging together without dissipating. Trapped Ox Lock? He is using compacted Yuan Qi to trap Yi Yun? A few veteran cultivators had a keen perception of Yuan Qi. They could also understand Xionyou's plan. Yi Yun's movement techniques were too good, so Xionyou had to use his Trapped Ox Lock to hold Yi Yun in one place. Even if the lock only lasted for a few seconds, it was still enough for Xionyou. As Xionyou's frontal assault was too terrifying, no one would be able to take it head-on. As long as Xionyou managed to force Yi Yun to take his blow head-on, then Xionyou would win the match. This battle strategy is very effective. As expected, Xionyou does not plan on letting Yi Yun deplete his stamina. Yi Yun is in trouble now. People held their breath. Xionyou's attack could easily kill someone. Below the stage, there were some doctors on standby. Many of these doctors were past cultivator graduates of the Tai A Divine City. They could be considered the seniors of the rookies present here. Their jobs were to treat the seriously injured participants, and they were responsible for their lives. However, as weapons were hard to control, there would be a few accidental deaths in the arena every year. They had to pay special attention to dangerous characters like Xionyou. There was a high probability of his opponents dying. Xionyou slowly circulated his Yuan Qi. He was like a hungry tiger that was stalking its prey. He was staring at Yi Yun ferociously. My Trapped Ox Lock isn't strong. You just need a short amount of time to break it, but I will not allow that to happen. I will do my best by using my strongest attack to defeat you. This attack is one of the last 3 moves of the Divine Strength Ox King skill. I can barely use it as its strength is too great. Even I cannot control it well. Just using it might kill. There is still time for you to admit defeat. As Xionyou said this, he lowered his body into a squat, before half-kneeling on the ground. In this weird pose, both his hands held the large battle polearm's shaft. His body's Yuan Qi was like a simmering volcano. Yi Yun was silent as he faced Xionyou. He gently flipped the Thousand Army saber and he pointed the tip of his blade at Xionyou. This was Yi Yun's answer. Xionyou laughed, as expected. You will not admit defeat. Yes. If you admitted defeat, you would not be a respectful opponent that I can look in the eye. Now, try to handle this attack. Boom! Xionyou's Yuan Qi exploded. The surge of Yuan Qi was condensing behind Xionyou as it slowly formed a single-horned Sky Ox's phantom image. Xionyou's body seemed to slowly rise up, which made it look like he was holding up the sky. Sky Ox Tyrannous Blood. Xionyou roared as his aura reached an extreme point. He charged forward with this indomitable aura leaking out of him. Each step Xionyou took left a crater on the purple tungsten stage. With the Skyox's phantom image boosting his surging strength, Cheonyo swiped his large battle polearm downwards at Yi Yun. There was no doubt that this strike would be able to slash open the stage. Facing this strike, that resembled a ravaging storm, Yi Yun was amazingly calm. He held his saber with both hands, the 1,000 army saber's tip forming an angle with the ground. At this moment, Yi Yun's mind was exceedingly tranquil, because his mind was completely at one with the 1,000 army saber. The various insights he had gained from the saber tomb now rushed into Yi Yun's mind. Yi Yun had spent many days in the saber tomb, trying to understand its teachings. Yi Yun had imprinted the energy trajectories of those words deeply in his mind. The energy and the word strokes all contained a saber truth within them. Now, it was time to validate his understandings. As Cheonyo's attack moved downwards with an unshakable pressure, Yi Yun's eyes lit up. The 1,000 army saber slashed directly upwards with a green flash that flew straight into the sky. At that instant, it was as if heaven and earth had turned silent. Time had stopped, leaving behind that blade slash. With an indomitable presence, it had sliced through everything. The saber truth's 32 words, reigning supreme. Cha! The blade beam and the polearm's beam collided. Yi Yun was like a god and he moved past Cheonyo with his 1,000 army saber. As he held onto the saber, he charged into the roaring Skyox phantom image. This Skyox image was formed from Yuan Qi using Cheonyo's Skyox tyrannous blood. But Yi Yun's saber slashed upwards with unstoppable onslaught. The Skyox phantom image was split in half by the 1,000 army saber. Boom! With the Yuan Qi exploding and the trapped Oxflock Yuan Qi wall shattering, a chaotic force erupted, causing the weapons surrounding the Divine Wilderness stage to rattle. Even the purple tungsten protective wall experienced severe tremors. However, Yi Yun's 1,000 army saber had pierced the force field. His body opened up a distance of 30 meters from Cheonyo before he landed steadily on the ground. With the 1,000 army saber's tip placed on the ground, Yi Yun turned around. On stage, Cheonyo's back was facing Yi Yun. His body had completely frozen. With his hand holding onto the battle polearm, he stood there, petrified in this position, without dropping the polearm. His gaze had stagnated and his face muscles twitched. He lowered his head with great difficulty to look at his chest with disbelief in his eyes. A bloody line had appeared, which went from the middle of Cheonyo's eyebrows, following down the bridge of his nose to his chin, all the way to his chest. Under Cheonyo's muscular pressure, it took a few seconds before blood started spilling out from this wound, issuing a CC sound. Yi Yun's saber had sliced Cheonyo from the middle of his eyebrows to his left rib. The wound was about 2 feet long and even his ribs were broken. This saber had not only sliced through the Skyox phantom image, it had also broken through Cheonyo's protective Yuan Qi and at the same time, cut Cheonyo's iron-like muscles open and broke the ribs on the left side of his chest. Blood flowed out more rapidly, covering Cheonyo's face, neck and chest. It made Cheonyo look extremely savage. He could clearly feel that Yi Yun's saber had sliced open his ribs and cut the muscles around his heart. If Yi Yun had gone an inch further, his heart would have been cut open and he would have died. But Yi Yun's control of his energy in that slash was excellent. There was not a millimeter of inaccuracy. That slash was too terrifying. Cheonyo felt his palms begin sweating. He did not expect such an opponent amongst the Tai-A Divine City's rookies. Just one slash was enough to completely defeat him. And Yi Yun had taken his Skyox tyrannous blood head-on. This was Cheonyo's strongest attack, one that he could not completely control. To be defeated while using this move, he admitted defeat from the bottom of his heart. In the battle of Yi Yun versus Cheonyo, Yi Yun wins. The referee gave Yi Yun a deep glance and announced the results of the match. Cheonyo had broken 9 ribs, and his chest had been split open by the 1,000 army saber. His left lung and heart were no longer protected by his Yuan Qi. It was difficult for him to even breathe, so it was natural that he had lost his ability to fight. At this moment, 4 doctors who were on standby below the stage rushed onto the stage. They took out some medicine that they had prepared to treat Chunyo's wounds. The doctors included 3 females and 1 male. They thought that they were going to treat Yi-Yun at the end of this and that he might even be mortally wounded. But unexpectedly, it was the complete opposite. The person who was injured was actually Chunyo. And Chunyo's wound was shocking. This slash was extremely precise. It was similar to a surgeon using a surgery knife. It was a terrifying slash. A few doctors looked at Yi-Yun and they felt that this junior of theirs was unfathomable. In the future, he was likely to skyrocket. Thank you. Yi-Yun held his 1,000 army saber and cupped his fists before turning to get down the Divine Wilderness stage. He knew that Chunyo would be alright. He had deliberately avoided Chunyo's vital organs in this final slash. He had learned this slash in the Saber Tomb. Yi-Yun had only managed to understand 2 slash moves throughout his time spent in the Saber Tomb. This Reigning Supreme was the first saber move. In fact, this move did not completely display the essence of the Saber Truth's 32 words. If one had to say how much it contained, it was just 1,000th of the essence of the Saber Truth's 32 words, and it only had a 10,000th of the charm. Even so, by combining it with Yi-Yun's pure Yang Yuan Qi, it was still extremely powerful. At this moment, everyone in the audience looked at Yi-Yun with a completely different look. Thinking back to the last slash, they felt like they were in a dream and they had not woken up from it yet. Chunyo's Skyok's tyrannous blood attack was earth-shattering, but Yi-Yun actually used his long and thin 1,000 army saber to block it, and then he sliced through Chunyo's protective Yuan Qi to secure victory. It was a shocking reversal. Everyone thought that Yi-Yun had no way of taking Chunyo's attack head-on. But Yi-Yun not only took it head-on, he even defeated Chunyo. Think about it. A Primordial Ox charges at a person with a domineering aura, while that person stood still, but the Primordial Ox was defeated with 1 punch. It was simply insane. Even when Yi-Yun returned to his seat, many people still had their mouths open from the shock. Amazing. Amazing. Is Yi-Yun planning to get first place amongst the rookies? Yi-Yun's amazing defeat of Chunyo was beyond all forms of imagination. Who could still compete with him? Previously, Yi-Yun had used 1 brick to smack his opponents unconscious one after another. It was quite impressive to do that, but not many people feared it. Yi-Yun had never used his saber, so no one knew how good his saber techniques were. But now, they had seen it. It was chilling to the bone. The gap between us is too great. I really can't believe it. In the crowd, Gumu, whose fame was not inferior to Yi-Yun's, turned pale after seeing this battle. He had no way of comprehending Yi-Yun's strength. He had been wanting to battle Yi-Yun, but now that notion was a complete joke. At this moment, in the Elder Seat of Honor on the side of the stage, a law enforcer revealed an odd look after seeing the match under his black hood. This saber technique. Did I see it incorrectly? At such a young age and having only been in the Taiya Divine City for only 3 months, it's impossible, he frowned. And then he asked an arena administrator, "Do you have a video recording disc array of this battle?" Of course, the administrator replied respectfully. They would use a disc array to record all the important matches and then archive them for future reference. "Give me a copy," the law enforcer exclaimed. He was not sure, and so he planned on passing on the disc array footage to a Divine City elder to confirm his guess. He felt that it was impossible, but still, he needed an elder to confirm it. Chapter 239, Disc Array Video. Yi-Yun walked back to his seat with everyone in the arena looking at him. At this moment, a weak voice came from the stage, Yi-Yun. Yi-Yun paused and turned around. It was Chunyo. He could no longer speak loudly as Yi-Yun's saber had cut open his chest, causing him to have trouble breathing. "That move, where did you learn it?" Chunyo said every word with difficulty. Even though the doctors advised Chunyo not to speak, it fell on deaf ears. "A few days ago, an elderly person took me somewhere to learn it." Yi Yun did not hide the fact. However, he did not mention the ancient tomb, as it was a secret that there was an ancient tomb under the Tai Divine City, and many people did not know the secret. A few days, Xionyou suddenly recalled Yi Yun's disappearance for the past few days and gave a wry smile. I see, you disappeared for a few days, to gain understandings about the saber. It only took him a few days to learn such a horrifying saber technique? It was unimaginable. What is the saber move's name? Xionyou asked again. When Yi Yun had used the move, he did not shout out the move's name like Xionyou. Yi Yun faltered slightly before replying, Reigning Supreme. This was Yi Yun's naming of the saber move. This was because this move was created from understanding the saber truth's 32 words Reigning Supreme. Be it Xionyou or the many cultivators in the Divine City audience, no one recognized the move. All they knew was Yi Yun's saber move was terrifying. Reigning Supreme, good move. Xionyou did not say anything else as he was carried out of the arena by the doctors on a stretcher. Xionyou's defeat and his serious injury meant he could no longer battle the veteran cultivator who was ranked 2800. As for Xionyou's ranking, it had dropped to 10,003 due to his defeat against Yi Yun. But this did not affect Xionyou's rookie ranking, as the rookie ranking competition ranked every rookie according to the highest ranking they achieved throughout all their matches. So, Xionyou would end up being ranked third, and now, Yi Yun was ranked second amongst the rookies. And he still had 3 more challenges remaining. Who was he going to challenge next? Would he be challenging a high-ranking veteran cultivator or Chu Xiaoran? After thinking about this, many people's hearts started to race. No matter who Yi Yun challenged, it would no doubt be an interesting match. At this moment, in the central Divine Tower, Song Yan and Elder Jiangu were playing chess once again. These 2 old men had brewed a pot of tea. They played chess, and at the same time, they enjoyed the tea. It was not easy for the 2 of them to progress any further, so they began leading an idle life. The 2 of them would end up playing chess for many days at a time. As for the rookie ranking competition, they would only occasionally pay attention to it while they played chess. The rookie ranking competition was not a big deal to people of their level. Jiangu and Song Yan were considered the Divine City's elders who were the most concerned about the rookies. As for people like the Tai Divine City's city lord, they would usually enter reclusive training for decades. If someone were to ask them who Qin Haotian was, they would say that they had never heard of the name before. I say, old man Jian, you recently went to the southern island and got 2 pounds of Jing Luo Chun, right? Why aren't you brewing it? It is such a waste of a heavenly treasure to not drink it. Song Yan was taking a sip of the tea. He was currently drinking a top-grade tea which could nourish the meridians and the dantian. A pot of this tea was priceless. But he still yearned for Elder Jian Ji's Jing Luo Chun. Jiangu rolled his eyes and could not be bothered to answer him. He said, Didn't you take Yi Yun out of the saber tomb today? How is he? Song Yan stroked his chin when he heard Jiangu ask this. It seemed like he did not know what to say. This, it is hard to say. When I asked the kid to come out, he looked very confident. It was as if he had actually learned something. But thinking about it, he only went in for a short amount of time, so it is quite unlikely that he had actually learned anything. So I am thinking of letting him go into the saber tomb again, so that he can try to gain more insights over a few days. Then, I'll prepare an opponent of passable caliber to fight with him to see the results of his training. Elder Jiangu was speechless when he heard this. He smacked the chess piece in his hand on the table and snapped, You want to take him in? There again? Do you think the Saber Tomb is the Tai Divine City's cookhouse? For a cultivator of the Purple Blood Realm to enter the Saber Tomb for the first time, and after a few days, gain some confidence from it like he has learned something, what he learned is most likely wrong. Don't tell me you didn't realize this would happen. Are you planning to take Xionyou and Chu Xiaoran to the Sword and Saber Tombs in the next few days to see if they can gain some insight? Upon being questioned by Elder Jiangu, Song Yan did not say a word. He also thought that Yi Yun must have gone astray in his learning. He said softly, "Forget Xianyou, but I think Xu Xiaoran has potential, so it is worth a try. She managed to gain some insights on truths at a young age and she has great perceptivity. Besides, she also uses a sword." Hearing Song Yan's words, Jian Gu hesitated. Song Yan had a point about Xu Xiaoran, it was indeed worth a try. Elder Jian Gu said, "Old man Kang, we need to be careful. Although these geniuses have a very low probability of becoming sages, we should not ruin their futures. In the past year, there have been a series of phenomena in the Tai A Divine Kingdom, such as the purple cloud's birth in the cloud wilderness and the beast horde migration in the divine wilderness last year. Who knows if something big has happened? To be able to nurture the younger generation, it is always good." As Jian Gu said this, he heard a Yuan Qi transmission from outside the door. Subordinate Gui Bai seeks an audience with Elder Jian Gu. Gui Bai? Jian Gu thought for a while. Gui Bai, as a law enforcer, was in charge of this year's rookie ranking competition. He should still be at the arena now. "Come in." "What's the matter?" Jian Gu said lightly. Gui Bai, who wore a black cloak, pushed the door open and entered the room. He unveiled his cowl and cupped his hands in a salute. This subordinate was presiding over this year's rookie ranking competition and something special happened in one of the battles. This subordinate could not be sure of what it was and I brought a video disc array for the two elders to confirm it. Saying that, Gui Bai handed over the disc array. Jian Gu looked at Gui Bai with some uncertainty. What sort of rookie battle needed him and Song Yan to confirm? At this moment, Gui Bai had placed the disc array on the table and by circulating his body's Yuan Qi into the disc array, a light flashed from the disc array and video began emerging from it. This was Xianyou and Yi Yun's battle. Oh? This little rascal immediately challenged Xianyou? He sure is confident. After all, Yi Yun was of a normal background. To reach the point of challenging a reclusive family's genius, Xianyou, in 3 months after coming to the Tai A Divine City, it was not easy. Gui Bai did not say anything and stood nearby with his hands by his side. Just the disc array's video was enough to show Jian Gu and Song Yan what was special about this battle without him saying another word. Xianyou and Yi Yun's fierce battle appeared in the disc array's footage. Seeing Yi Yun break through Xianyou's armor defenses, Jian Gu nodded his head. Following that, Xianyou took off his armor to battle Yi Yun again. Jian Gu gave a rare appreciative smile. This little rascal is not bad. I know. He is not bad. Look at his battle with Xianyou, he was never in a disadvantageous position in the first place. I had reason to take him into the Saber Tomb. Maybe with a few more days, he might really learn something. Song Yan began boasting. But at this moment, Yi Yun was trapped by Xianyou's trapped oxlock. Song Yan's happy expression froze. How could this kid be so unworthy of praise? I just praised him and now, he got trapped by his opponent. Yi Yun could only face the battle head-on and he was bound to suffer as a result. At this moment, Xianyou launched his killing blow and Yi Yun took it head-on with his saber. It seemed as if time came to a stop. When they saw Yi Yun's blade beam slice through the Skyok's phantom image and then slash through Xianyou's strong body, both Song Yan and Jian Gu expressions froze. Just now. How could that be? The two elders looked at each other and saw an incredulous look within the other's eyes. Replay. Song Yan said in a hurry. Gui Bai did not say a word and injected some more Yuan Qi into the disc array to show Yi Yun's slash again. This slash had hit Xianyou's body and it was reflected in their eyes. That blade beam lingered in their irises for a long time. The realm of the saber truths, 32 words. Elder Jian Gu said in a deep voice. This kid. Song Yan was completely at a loss for words. At this moment, according to his temperament, he would have jumped up to boast and say how good his foresight was. But Yi Yun was a freak. For Yi Yun to manage to gain insight from the saber truth's 32 words in just a few days, even he could not say anything. He had originally taken Yi Yun to the Saber Tomb on a whim. He wanted to test Yi Yun. He felt that he could take Yi Yun to the tomb a few times for him to gain a tiny insight and it would benefit him for life. Under normal circumstances, if Yi Yun could gain some insight in a few months, it would be an extraordinary feat, but now, in just 4 to 5 days, he had gained such insight? This was too great of an exaggeration. Even Shin Haotian, who was a natural swordsman, could not be compared to Yi Yun in terms of his understanding of the sword. Impressive. Could this kid be a natural saber user? Some people were naturally compatible with a certain type of weapon. It was as if they were born for the weapon. When they used the weapon, their powers would greatly increase and they could not use any other weapon at all. These people could easily reach the pinnacle in one aspect. It was also easier for them to gain insights on the weapon of their choice. Jin-gu shook his head and said, "No, he isn't, he also has a bow. His bow skills are not bad either. I heard that he managed to capture the primordial herb using that bow from the herb-picking administrator. To not be a natural saber user, but to have such perceptivity that exceeds a natural saber user, it's incredible." Chapter 240, The Weak Overcoming the Strong. After Yi Yun beat Xiongnu, he quickly submitted the name of the person he wanted to challenge next. Some people began to peek at the challenge form when the referee received it. There were a few people standing near the referee's table and they began to probe into the name that Yi Yun wrote, and the person he chose was Chu Xiaoran. Yi Yun versus Chu Xiaoran. No one was surprised that this was going to happen. The rookie ranking competition needed someone to stand on top. Yi Yun and Chu Xiaoran were destined to have a final showdown. In fact, it was an experience a person like Yi Yun needed to have by battling against the experts amongst the rookies. He had to accumulate combat experience to train his martial arts. Yi Yun wants to battle Chu Xiaoran. Someone spread the news. He wants to battle Chu Xiaoran? Chu Xiaoran is going to feel the pressure now. In the past, Chu Xiaoran's performance had always subtly exceeded Xiongnu's, but not by much. Everyone knew that Chu Xiaoran had held back a trick or two. But even so, it didn't seem like she could do much when she faced Yi Yun. Yi Yun is a freak. Even when Xiongnu gave it his all at the end, he could also break it in one shot. With his extraordinary movement techniques, his attack and speed leaves others in the dust. Can Chu Xiaoran defeat him? It is going to be difficult. It may seem like that now, but who knows how much hidden strength Chu Xiaoran has not used. When Xiongnu and Yi Yun fought, he too had his trump card. So wouldn't Chu Xiaoran have won either? Don't forget that Chu Xiaoran is a person who had gained insight into nomological truths. People debated on this topic, but in the end, most people believed Yi Yun had a higher chance of winning. At this moment, the referee announced, Divine Wilderness Stage, 2600, Longleash Challenger, Chu Xiaoran. Before battling Yi Yun, Chu Xiaoran had already set up a match. She was challenging the 2600th person on the Earth Roll of Honor. This was Chu Xiaoran's third to last battle. Tomorrow, she still had 2 opportunities to challenge someone. No one knew how high Chu Xiaoran could rise up. Chu Xiaoran held a sword that was soft as water and she walked up onto the Divine Wilderness stage. No matter who she faced in this battle or if Yi Yun was going to face her in her next battle, they were all strong rivals. But even so, Chu Xiaoran was still very calm. Many people admired her for having such bearing. She's indeed worthy to be an expert by not panicking. She did not react at all, even when she saw Xiongnu being defeated. People were secretly horrified. They did not know the limit to Chu Xiaoran's strength. Chu Xiaoran's opponent Long Li held a spear in his hand. With the spear in his hand, he gave an impressive pose. He took his opponent very seriously and he did not dare to treat her lightly. Chu Xiaoran, on the participant benches, Yi Yun, who was meditating, opened his eyes. He too wanted to see the impressive style of the current number 1 rookie. The battle had begun. Many people focused their eyes on the stage. They were waiting to see Chu Xiaoran's hidden strength. Zhongyou had plenty of hidden strength, so Chu Xiaoran definitely had hidden strength too. Everyone imagined that in this battle, Longli would slowly suppress Chu Xiaoran until she had to use her hidden strength to turn the tables. But this battle was different from what they imagined. Longli was indeed very fierce in his opening attacks. His spear shot out spear beams. The spear was known as the best weapon among soldiers. Longli was more than 1.8 meters tall, hence, he had an impressive aggressiveness while attacking with the spear. But Chu Xiaoran was using a soft sword. When a sword exchanged blows with a spear, it was usually at a disadvantage. Chu Xiaoran was quickly suppressed by Longli. Longli's spear was fast and he also injected his surging Yuan Qi into it. Longli attacked with one move after another like billowing waves that would not stop. As for Chu Xiaoran, she was like a small boat in the ocean. She was moving around like she was being rocked around by the waves and wind. It seemed like Chu Xiaoran was in a dangerous situation, but no matter how forceful Longli's attacks were, Chu Xiaoran remained undefeated. After being unable to take her down for a long while, Longli began feeling anxious. It seemed like he was just a tiny step away from defeating Chu Xiaoran. If Longli was a rock, then Chu Xiaoran was like a blade of grass. No matter how hard the rock pressed on it, the blade of grass would just bend and it would not snap. This made many rookies frown. They wished for Chu Xiaoran to win her matches beautifully, but in reality, Chu Xiaoran was being suppressed. The rookies did not feel good about this. Did Chu Xiaoran not have any hidden strength? If she was being suppressed by Longli like this, how was she going to fight Yi Yun? People knew that Longli was very strong. Being ranked at 2,600 in the Earth rankings and even amongst the third years, he was considered one of the top experts. In past years, whichever rookie could battle a cultivator ranked 2,600 to such state would be a freak. It was practically guaranteed for them to get first place in the rookie competition. But this year, it was different. There was the incredibly powerful Yi Yun here. By fighting like that, she was not enough to pose a threat to Yi Yun. Although the audience was anxious, Chu Xiaoran was not anxious at all. Chu Xiaoran carried on following a prescribed order and she parried every attack from Longli. It looked dangerous, but she was doing it with such ease. In the arena, Longli's heart sank. He knew that if this carried on, his energy would be depleted faster than Chu Xiaoran's. In the end, he would end up losing. He had to accumulate his strength to win in one hit. He could only use his trump card now. Longli had just recently learned this move and he was not skillful using it. But now, he only had this move to clinch victory. As Longli attacked Chu Xiaoran, he began preparing his best move. After he finished preparing it, he forced Chu Xiaoran to retreat and with his whole body's Yuan Qi exploding, a surge of energy appeared in front of him. Just as Longli was prepared to use his trump card, something unexpected occurred. Chu Xiaoran, who was sent retreating by him, suddenly seemed to borrow the energy from his attack and flew back at him, sending out an attack. This attack looked unexciting and it did not seem like it was going to threaten Longli's energy wave. But this attack shot out a sword beam, which destroyed a portion of Longli's energy wave. This was because it had hit a weak spot in Longli's attack. Pang! Longli's Yuan Qi was broken, so even though Longli was able to react at that moment and try to protect his body while he retreated, it was too late. Chu Xiaoran was too fast and her sword was too precise. Her body charged into Longli's spear beams like a ghost and she broke through Longli's protective barrier with her sword. This attack was like a venomous snake coming out of a cave and it seemed to twist around Longli's neck. The cold blade beam sank Longli's heart and all his Yuan Qi stopped circulating. What? Longli was dumbfounded. He stood motionless as if he had been petrified. You have lost. Chu Xiaoran withdrew her soft sword and quietly took a step back. Longli dazed as he saw Chu Xiaoran retreat. He could not believe what had just happened. From the beginning, he constantly had the upper hand. It was because he could not take her down after prolonged attacks that he had to use the killing blow he had just learned. But before he could use it, Chu Xiaoran suddenly turned the tables and beat him. An ordinary-looking move was able to break his defenses to secure victory in one move. This huge reversal from defeat to victory happened almost in an instant. Long Li felt that he was stronger than Chu Xiaoran, but in the end, he still lost. This feeling was like in chess. When one was suppressing their opponent by removing a large portion of their opponent's pieces, they had victory in hand. But suddenly, the opponent made a move that ended up checkmating their king. The whole match was lost. Long Li felt aggrieved at his loss. He could not imagine how Chu Xiaoran managed to break through his move. The audience was also confused at this battle outcome. It seemed like Chu Xiaoran had won easily and not easily at the same time. Some people even thought that Chu Xiaoran had won by a fluke. How did this happen? They were waiting for Chu Xiaoran to reveal her hidden strength, but from the beginning to the end, all Chu Xiaoran did was that one move. And just the strength of that one move allowed her to defeat Long Li in an unknown way. Does Chu Xiaoran not have any hidden strength? Is that all she has? Then, how is she going to fight Yi Yun? Isn't she sure to lose? People inevitably had such thoughts. By struggling to beat Long Li, it was difficult for her to beat Yi Yun. At this moment, someone said, on the contrary, I think Chu Xiaoran's performance in this battle is terrifying. The strength she used was weaker than Long Li's, but the final result was unexpected. By defeating Long Li with a weaker strength, that is skill. How would you know that the strength Chu Xiaoran used was her limit? When this person returned with a question, it stunned the audience. If she can win with 60% strength, why didn't she use 100%? Instead, by beating a 70% opponent with 60% strength, that shows skill. Maybe Chu Xiaoran was training and honing her skills. The person who said this was a veteran cultivator. Now, many veteran cultivators had to admit that Chu Xiaoran was terrifying, even though it was embarrassing to admit that a rookie was stronger than them. Upon hearing this, no one said anything. To hone oneself using the rookie ranking competition? Recalling this battle, Chu Xiaoran was very calm from beginning to end. She never panicked, it was as if everything was under her control. If she really could not beat Long Li, it was unlikely she could be that calm. And in the final attack, it looked simple, but was it really that simple? A simple attack had broken through Long Li's forceful killing blow? Upon realizing this, people found Chu Xiaoran unfathomable. In this rookie ranking competition, Xiaoniao was always ranked behind Chu Xiaoran. When one thought about it, it was probably Xiaoniao's intention to challenge Chu Xiaoran on the final day. Although it was likely that, deep down, Xiaoniao did not believe that he would lose to Chu Xiaoran, but this indicated that Xiaoniao was previously weaker than Chu Xiaoran. If not, he would not have positioned himself as a challenger. Unfortunately, now it was no longer Xiaoniao challenging Chu Xiaoran, but Yi Yun.